I am a sea queen, who advocates living in the moment and seeking pleasure. I won't shortchange myself in either body or spirit. One boyfriend is not enough. Two will do. During a luxury cruise trip, I thought I had met true love again. However, even a sea queen can be deceived. I found out that I had been tricked. After seeing through the scam, I thought I would safely get through this trip. Unexpectedly, there is a bigger conspiracy that will shatter me to pieces. During this period, the murderer gave me 10 chances to save myself. By the time I realized it, there was only one chance left. One, do you know that if ice cream suddenly starts being distributed on the cruise ship, don't be in a hurry to be happy, because this means that someone on the cruise ship has died. In order to store the body, space needs to be made in the cold storage. When it comes to the point where the dessert cold storage needs to be used, it means there are far more dead people than you can imagine. As soon as I got on the cruise ship, Ben told me about the cold knowledge he had recently come across. I couldn't help but roll my eyes. Dude, this is a top luxury cruise ship. All the food is included. Ice cream is unlimited. Ben is my physical boyfriend. He is a brainless college guy majoring in physical education. He has nothing but muscles on his body. He is hot-tempered and impulsive and likes to say inappropriate things. This top luxury cruise trip will last 33 days and span several countries. There are only 30 luxury suites on the cruise ship and can accommodate a maximum of 100 tourists. The price of each cruise ticket is as high as $60,000. An astronomical figure. During the more than a month's journey, all meals and entertainment are included. 5-star dining and configurations naturally come with a high price. Ben doesn't have this kind of money. And I don't have such a high vacation budget either. The money was provided by my other boyfriend, Jason. Jason is my spiritual boyfriend, who caters to my every need. As soon as I became his girlfriend, he offered to give me 200,000 yuan every month. Don't get it wrong. He is not an old man. And he is not with me either. He is a wealthy older youth. It seems that he was traumatized in childhood. So he has been single. He said that after meeting me, he knew what true love was. He said that I had healed his psychological trauma. And this money is what I deserve. He is in his 30s and has an acceptable appearance. So at first, I took this money with great uneasiness. It's like someone suddenly wants to give you several million yuan without any strings attached. At that time, you would think, why don't you slap me a few times so that I can feel at ease? But after being in a relationship with Jason for more than 2 years, I realized that this money is what I deserve. He is impotent. At first, I thought he wanted to have a pure love relationship with me. That's not impossible. But after a year passed, the money arrived on time every month, making me feel that I must give something in return. So one time, when he took me on vacation, I changed into a hot lingerie and was ready to do something that men like to do. But he rejected me. When I asked him the reason, he stammered and couldn't say it. I looked down at his lower body. It was quite impressive. To this is strange. He just can't have a relationship with me. The reason is psychological. If he were someone else, I would have broken up with him long ago. But he is the one who gives me money every month. So this relationship can't be broken up. I have no choice but to look for wild food outside. Soon, I locked onto Ben, this college guy majoring in physical education. In this way, he became my other boyfriend and also knows about Jason and me. When he found out, the innocent stupidity in his eyes sparkled. Do you think it's possible that he might also like men? I also want him to give me money. Fortunately, Jason's company is usually extremely busy. My relationship with Ben can be hidden smoothly without revealing any flaws. This summer vacation is the busiest time for Jason's company. He booked 2 cruise tickets early but couldn't accompany me in the end. He felt very guilty and asked me to find a companion to come with me. So, I can only let Ben accompany me. I told Jason that it was my best friend who accompanied me and we rehearsed our lines. Originally, after making money in the past few years, I also wanted to bring my best friend with me. But tickets for this cruise ship are extremely hard to get. It takes half a year of booking to get a ticket. I searched online and found that there is no ticket information for this cruise ship at all. So I plan to find a young lady on the ship, who looks like my best friend. Take a picture of her back to make up for it. As soon as I got on the cruise ship, Ben shouted that he was hungry. So we came to the cafeteria. There is everything you can eat here. The restaurant uses an la carte system. Ben and I ordered 5 dishes and ate slowly. My eyes scanned the restaurant, looking for a young lady. But before I could find a young lady, I saw a middle-aged aunt who ordered a table full of dishes. She was clearly alone, but ordered more than a dozen dishes. The served dishes had already filled the table, and she was still ordering. The waiter didn't show the slightest displeasure and took her order on the tablet as she requested. When all the dishes were served, one plate was stacked on top of another, and they couldn't even stand stably. She devoured the food voraciously, with a king crab leg in her left hand and a piece of tuna in her right. On such a luxury cruise ship of this level, there is actually someone so greedy for small advantages that she doesn't care about losing face. I turned my face away from the aunt in disgust. I wanted to continue looking for my target. But Ben, who was full and satisfied with wine and food, dragged me back to the suite. 3 sated with food and drink. 1 thinks of lust. This is vividly reflected in him. We haven't seen each other for a long time. So naturally it was a fierce battle. By evening, my legs were so weak that I couldn't even get out of bed and could only order room service. The cruise ship slowly sailed away from the port and went farther and farther. In the first 3 days, I was in the room with Ben, indulging in passion. Anyway, there is still plenty of time. No matter how many activities there are on the cruise ship, they are limited. There's no need to worry about not having a chance to experience them. I also didn't forget to call Jason to let him know I was safe. He needs to be comforted. Ben always takes liberties with me when I'm on the phone with Jason. I involuntarily make ambiguous sounds, but I try my best to hide them. It's very exciting. Una, have you started writing the diary I gave you? Jason asked. Before I set off, Jason gave me a notebook and asked me to record this trip. I was originally expecting a more valuable gift. When I got that luxurious notebook that only primary school students would like, I forced a smile. Naturally, I don't have time to touch that notebook. I plan to finish it in a rush in the last few days of the trip. What bad luck. Even when I'm out playing, I still have homework. But at this moment, I talk to him in the most charming voice. Of course I haven't forgotten. I write in it every day. It's a secret for now. I'll show it to you when I get back. Ben's hand reaches into mine. I force myself to regain my sanity and hang up the phone. Fortunately, Jason doesn't have the slightest suspicion. I feel relieved and then scratch Ben all over. On the 4th day, the cruise ship has already moved far away from the land. The sea is rippling with blue waves, and fish are chasing after the cruise ship and jumping competitively. As a girl, if I don't take some beautiful photos, it would be unreasonable. Ben goes to explore the activities on the cruise ship. I start looking for someone who looks like my best friend. Soon, I find her. It is a girl in a light yellow dress, painting alone in the sun. When oil paint gets on her cheek and she raises her hand to wipe it, she turns her face to my side a bit. I find that from a certain angle, she is almost exactly the same as my best friend. So I go and strike up a conversation with that girl. Miss, are you alone? I show a friendly smile and sit down beside her. Yes, I'm alone. She looks up and smiles at me. She is very approachable. That's great. I casually pick up the painting she has already finished. You paint so well. I came with my boyfriend, but he can't take good photos. I was just thinking, what should I do for the next month? I say with melancholy. Really? Then we can be photography partners. In addition to painting, I am also good at photography. She also says happily. For things are settled so smoothly. My luck is really good. I know her name is Cindy. After quitting her last job, she has been idle at home. One day she received a courier. After scanning the code, she got this cruise ticket. I originally thought it was a scam. I didn't expect it to be true. Even now when talking about it, she still can't believe she can be so lucky. You know, this cruise ticket is worth more than 400 yuan in Chinese currency. I secretly take a photo of Cindy bowing her head and painting. Then I signal her to stand up. I sit by the easel and pester her to take a photo of me. Cindy's photography skills are really good. When she hands me back my phone, I am extremely happy. I have always wanted to be artistic. Meeting you is really lucky. I can pretend to be artistic on the cruise ship. I don't hide my scheming. Cindy is also very happy. Pretending is a pleasure in life. We seem to get along very well. I send the photo of Cindy bowing her head and my photo to Jason and tell him that is a photo of me and my best friend. Soon, Jason replies and wishes us a good time. Seeing that I have fooled him, I am in a great mood and start chatting enthusiastically with Cindy. Ben comes over and greets us. Then he tells me that there is actually description of something on the cruise ship and clear on the cruise ship. He wants to try his luck. Go ahead. I give him a break. I know that these things on this cruise ship are just small amusements for entertainment purposes. Cindy and I quickly become best friends holding hands. And even talk about private matters. Oh, after having known many men, I finally know that stamina is stamina. Size is size. And skill is skill. In the end, if it's not good, it's just not good. I am doubled over with laughter at her words. Thinking of Jason, I blurt out. My boyfriend is not very good. Really? Cindy covers her mouth and giggles. But he looks. I know she thinks I'm talking about Ben. I don't explain and just smile. With Ben's big muscles, uphold ABS, and excessive energy, how could he be not good? She laughs for a while, afraid that I might be embarrassed. She comforts me by saying, well, to tell you the truth, my first love is also like that. He is not just not good. He is simply. At this moment, there is a loud boom on the cruise ship. 5 We turn to look. A wheelchair has fallen not far behind us. An old man is dragging his leg and crawling on the ground with difficulty. Cindy and I want to help him back into the wheelchair. But he shakes us off. Get away. There is a huffing sound coming from his mouth, accompanied by a violent cough. He glares at us angrily. We are baffled. Not only did we get a cold shoulder, but this person is also so unmannered. How can you be like this? Just as we are about to have a big fight with him, a young and handsome man runs over here and apologizes to us repeatedly. That man has a high nose bridge, a handsome face, and a charming smile. I see him help the old man on the ground up. Ignoring his scolding, he first pushes him to a distance and then comes back and bows to us. I'm really sorry. Since he became disabled, his temper has been very bad. 2 beautiful ladies. Don't take it to heart. Don't argue with him. While saying this, he takes out 2 shopping cards from his chest and hands them to us. This is a token of my apology to you too. Isn't this a shopping card from Escapian City A? Cindy exclaims in surprise. There is no trace of anger left. I count the amount on the shopping card. It's a full 30 yuan. I can't help but be amazed. There are indeed mostly rich people on this cruise ship. This is so generous. The man smiles at us. After you 2 beautiful ladies go ashore, you can use this card to buy a bag. After declining politely for a while, Cindy and I take it and thank him repeatedly. This person can coax us just by his good looks. But he insists on spending money. This handsome guy is named William. He says that the old man just now is his uncle. This cruise ship is designed by him. What? Thinking of the textured line carvings and elegant color combinations on the walls and floors inside this cruise ship, Cindy and I look at each other. It's really hard to connect this unmannered old man with this cruise ship. He is a well-known designer. Many luxury buildings and cruise ships are designed by him. However, since he became disabled due to a car accident, he has become violent and unpredictable, feeling that others are pitying him. He designed everything, but he cannot experience it with his own feet. For this trip, it was only after my persistent persuasion that I brought him out to relax. After listening to what the handsome guy William said, we understood the old man's rudeness just now, and praised William for his filial piety. He gave a shy smile, turned around and said goodbye to us, and went to take care of his uncle. A never-before-seen restlessness and desire welled up in my heart. That William is really so handsome. I stared at his back and showed a determined smile. Thinking of William's face and his perfect figure with broad shoulders and a narrow waist. My mouth is watering. Moreover, he is so rich. For two strangers like us, he gave tens of thousands at once. After more than a month of sailing, it is unbearably lonely on the cruise ship. As long as he doesn't bring a woman, I am confident that I can win him. No, even if he brings a woman, I will still win him. Otherwise, I would be unworthy of my title of Sea Queen. Thinking of this, I said goodbye to Cindy in a hurry and returned to my room. I took a bath, carefully removed the dead skin with body scrub, and then applied fragrant body wash. After getting out of the bath, I curled my hair into slutty big waves, and put on the most charming makeup. Then, I took out the sexiest set of underwear from my suitcase and put on a thin windbreaker. I'm not afraid that I can't win him. Afraid of something going wrong. I called Ben first, but only heard the noisy sound of pushing cards on the other end. He didn't have time to care about me at all. After hastily saying hello a few times and saying that he didn't want to eat, he hung up the phone. Just as I wish. I walked out of the room door and searched for suites one by one on each floor. On a luxury cruise ship with 30 suites. I'm not afraid that I can't find it. Just now I deliberately listened to the old man's cough. He must have returned to his room now. As long as I find the room of the wheelchair old man, William must be next door. See, to be a sea queen, being careful and bold are both indispensable. Soon, I knocked on William's door. He opened the door and looked at me in confusion. I looked around the room over his shoulder. There was no trace of a woman. God helps me. Miss Una, what can I do for you? He blinked his big eyes with thick eyelashes and asked in confusion. He still remembers my last name. I leaned softly on the door frame. I want to show you something. What? He made way, and was ready to welcome me in. I slowly unbuttoned my windbreaker, revealing the blushing fringe lingerie. Adult communication needs no words. He pulled me in. Sure enough, he is a normal man. Wildflowers that are delivered to the door, if not picked, are wasted. Afterwards, I leaned in his arms and felt that I had lived in vain before. I think this is my true love. After learning that his main business is investment and he is now financially free, I admire him even more. Being financially free at such a young age, handsome, and good in bed. Doesn't this make other men feel inferior? I leaned coquille-fly on him. Let's be together. Okay? 7. Coincidentally, I also fell in love with Misuna at first sight. William laughed out loud above my head. I was excited. But then I heard him say. However, on the first day, on the cruise ship, I seem to have seen Misuna with a man by her side. Ben likes to touch me in public the most. Presumably William has seen it. But if a sea queen can't handle even this situation, wouldn't it be in vain? I blocked William's mouth with my lips. Is he a man? Compared to you, he is not a man. Men can't stand such words the most. Especially in bed. William was teased by me again and had another round of passion with me. Oh, youth. It wasn't until night that I came out of William's room with a flushed face and full satisfaction. My legs were so weak that I didn't even put on my shoes properly. After walking a few steps, I squatted down to adjust my shoes. But when I stood up, I ran into Cindy. Do you live here? She smiled at me and opened the next room. I also live here. Come in and sit down. Oh no. This is the westernmost side of the second floor of the cruise cabin, while I live in the easternmost side of the fourth floor of the cruise cabin. There are still more than 20 days of travel. It will definitely be exposed. I entered Cindy's room and was thinking of countermeasures. Cindy's room is very clean and she brought very few things. I looked around and from the things she brought, I knew that Cindy's financial situation is not good. Yes. This cruise ticket was won by her in a lottery. Having a general idea in my mind, I talked and played with her as usual. Cindy took out a set of tarot cards from the box and said that she is considering making a living with this recently and invited me to experience it. Seeing the tarot cards, I trembled inside. Before boarding the cruise ship, I also played with tarot cards once. I met a one-eyed old lady on the side of the road. She looked very strange. She stopped me without hesitation and asked me to draw cards. I thought she was a habitual offender who tried to extort money by making trouble on the road. So I waved my hand and left. Unexpectedly, I dropped several cards. The old lady shouted behind me, "I see your death." I know nothing about tarot cards. At this time, I just asked Cindy for advice. Are all the cards I dropped on the ground death cards? But Cindy laughed. The death card in tarot cards doesn't mean death. It means the end of a relationship or some unexpected event. She motioned for me to draw cards and ask questions. Tarot cards can't predict things too far away. Is there anything you want to ask recently? I shook my head. I don't want to play. At seeing that I was disappointed, she was not annoyed. Then let's go play some activities. Cindy wants to take me to Plate X skydiving. Thinking of the underwear wrapped in my windbreaker, I can only decline. Thinking that I can't hide it from her after all, I gritted my teeth and admitted that I don't live on this floor. I told Cindy about myself and William. Sure enough, Cindy was angry. I also have a crush on him. I haven't made a move yet. But you took the lead. I opened my windbreaker. Everyone depends on their own abilities. He is single. You can knock on his door. He is single. But you are not. Cindy sneered at me. I don't want to lose Cindy as a friend. She is so much like a best friend. In the next few days, I still have to rely on her to hide it from Jason. So I transferred a big red envelope to her and said with a smile, "Good sister. Don't be angry. How would I know that you also have a crush on him?" After receiving the red envelope, Cindy calmed down. After all, William is not her boyfriend. She playfully pinched my arm. You are so restless. Then she suddenly realized. You told me today that your boyfriend is no good. So that's why you. I didn't explain either. I just asked her not to tell Ben. Although William is good, maybe he is also a playboy. He and I are just cruise ship couples. I can't let go of the eagle without catching it and let Ben, my physical boyfriend, run away first. Of course, Cindy only knows that I want to hide it from Ben, but she doesn't know the person I really want to use her to hide it from is Jason. After speaking frankly, I felt much relieved and went to drink at the cruise ship's bar with Cindy. At the bar, we started chatting with the cruise ship's waiter. I asked him about the ice cream distribution on the cruise ship, and got the answer. It turns out that ice cream is distributed on the cruise ship, which means someone on the cruise ship has died, is not unfounded. This situation usually occurs on long-distance cruises with many elderly people. Many elderly people will use their pensions to splurge and take a luxury cruise trip across several countries. A long-distance luxury cruise lasts for a month at the shortest and several months at the longest. A cruise ship can carry thousands or even tens of thousands of people. With such a number of days and people, plus most of the passengers are elderly, it is quite normal for several people to die on the way. If fewer than 10 people die during a trip, it's okay. But if it exceeds the expected number, there won't be enough freezers for storing corpses. Once the cruise ship is far away from the port, it must wait until it docks to transport the corpses off the ship. Only the cold storage for food can be used. 9. Cindy and I shivered. This cruise ship is now gradually moving away from the land and sailing on the vast ocean. The waiter seemed to see through our thoughts and said, "You don't have to worry. Our cruise ship is a high-end tour. There are less than 100 passengers. In just 1 month. How could there be deaths?" Cindy and I thought that there weren't many elderly people on the cruise ship. So we were relieved. At night, Ben didn't return to the room until early morning. He had been in place name for a whole day. He rambled on. "This is strange. Instead of us paying money, they'd give us money. For example, when playing Mahjong, at the end of losing, we don't have to pay each other. Instead, according to the number of points remaining on the cards in our hands, the dealer gives us money. Although it's not a lot of money. But in a day, you can earn a few hundred yuan. It's said that it's included in the cruise ticket." At this point, Ben came to bed and cuddled up to me. "This high-end cruise ship is really different. Your boyfriend is really rich." I was thinking about William and was impatient to deal with him. Just perfunctory. Fortunately, in the next 10 days or so, except when the cruise ship docks at the port and everyone gets off together, Ben is completely focused on place name. I happen to have an affair with William and find that I am more and more addicted to him. I know that he is single, without a wife or girlfriend. He said that he is busy with investment and making money and really doesn't have the energy to date a girlfriend. It was only when he met me that he realized that there is something happier than making money. He asked me to break up with Ben and be his girlfriend. I readily agreed. It's not good looking to break up on the cruise ship. When this trip is over, I will break up with him. Back in the room, my mind was racing. I took out the notebook that I had stuffed in my suitcase. This trip is almost over. And I haven't written a single word yet. Breaking up with Ben is as easy as turning over one's hand. What I can't bear to part with is Jason. I can't bear to part with his money. Although William is also a rich man, he may not be willing to give me so much money every month. And I have been with Jason for more than 2 years and have earned more than 5 million. Just ask. Who can resist such temptation? I put the notebook in my carry-on bag and thought that I would take it out and write, when I have time these days. I still have to stabilize Jason. I can't lose him. At this time, the screen of my mobile phone lit up. It was a message from Cindy. "William has a big problem. Come and find me quickly." 10. I went to find Cindy full of doubts. "The SKP card he gave us is fake." Cindy threw the card on my chest. "Nonsense. There is a balance marked on the outside. And you can also check it by scanning the code." On the day I received the card, I checked the balance. It showed 30 yuan. Exactly. A scammer's QR code can do this. I asked my friend at SKP. There has never been such a card. Think about it. We are on the cruise ship and we can't verify its authenticity in this month. Under Cindy's continuous words, I hesitated. Perhaps this card was given to him by someone else? He doesn't know if it's real or fake either? I stroked the shopping cart in my hand and made excuses for William. Cindy sneered. "Even so, it's enough to show that this William is a fake rich man. I'll tell you another thing. That day he was looking at his phone in front of me. I glanced at his screen. He was using a certain lending software. I think you should stop wasting your efforts." I was immediately furious. During these days, Cindy was also quite loyal. After receiving my money, she didn't tell Ben about me and William. But it doesn't mean that she didn't have any thoughts about William. These words may be her bluffing me. The trip is almost over. There is no need for me to continue pretending to be a plastic best friend with her. So I snorted coldly and turned to leave. But it's not true that I don't believe it at all. I leaned alone by the cruise ship and pondered. Right. If the old man in the wheelchair is really a renowned designer, he must be traceable. If William is his relative, his financial situation won't be bad either. I took out my phone and turned it on. But the network was extremely slow and couldn't connect even after a long time. Frustrated, I stuffed the phone back into my bag. As soon as I turned around, I bumped into someone. That person was holding a cake from the cafeteria and eating it while walking. This was great. It all spilled on me. When I took a closer look, it was the aunt who had been frantically ordering food in the cafeteria on the first day. Only this time, there was an old man supporting her. He should be her husband. Before I could say anything, the aunt reprimanded me in a shrill voice. "Little girl, don't you look where you're going?" 11 Before I could even speak, the aunt covered her chest and slid to the ground. Oh dear. I'm so old and my heart is not good. I'll be bullied to death by you little girls. Sure enough. A shrew. I was so angry that my hands trembled. I pointed at the aunt and was about to start scolding her when I was stopped by the old man beside her. The old man apologized to me and said he would pay for my dress and asked me to go back first. When the aunt on the ground heard him say this, she suddenly jumped up from the ground. "Leo, how dare you?" I looked at her coldly. This is a luxury cruise ship. There are surveillance cameras everywhere. Right and wrong will be clearly captured by the surveillance. My dress costs more than 20,000. If you don't pay for it, when the cruise ship docks, I'll sue you. The aunt was both angry and anxious. Her eyes rolled around. Where would a little girl get the money to buy such an expensive dress? I think you're probably. Before she could finish speaking, she was covered by her husband's hand and taken away. While walking, Leo also turned back and bowed to me in apology. From afar, I heard a sentence. "Don't be embarrassing on this kind of cruise ship. You've made me lose all face." I was also extremely angry. I picked up my bag and was about to go find a waiter to adjust the surveillance. But at the service center, I ran into Leo asking about my room number. When he saw me, he was all smiles. "Miss Una, it's all my wife's fault. How much is your dress? I'll pay you." One should not hit a smiling person. I sat down and talked to him. This dress originally cost 28,000. It can't be dry cleaned. It can only be hand washed by professionals and quickly spread out to dry. Whether this stain can be washed off is still uncertain. You have to pay me 10,000 yuan. This Leo was refined and reasonable. Okay. Then please send me your purchase record. If the original price is really 28,000, I can compensate you 10,000 yuan. His request was reasonable. I reached out to add him. I bought the dress in a physical store. I'll ask my best friend to take a picture of the receipt and send it to you. Okay. Leo was also straightforward. When I see the receipt, I'll transfer the money to you. Today's network is extremely poor. We waited for more than 10 minutes for the mutual edition. The waiter said, "The cruise ship has sailed into international waters. Naturally, the signal is poor." 12 Leo and I made peace. He apologized with an embarrassed smile. "My wife has been like that all her life. Please don't take it too hard. A virtuous wife leads to less trouble for her husband. You should also persuade her from time to time." I actually lectured an old man. Alas. To tell you the truth, I've been a teacher all my life and educated countless students. But I'm just helpless when it comes to my wife. Leo helplessly scratched his head. "So, did you two buy the cruise tickets with your pensions?" "These 2 cruise tickets are not cheap. They cost about 800,000 yuan in Chinese currency." I asked curiously. But Leo's face showed a relaxed smile. "Right? How could our pensions afford cruise tickets here? I won an award as an outstanding retired teacher." Just as he was saying this, a fat figure was seen running from afar, cursing as she ran. It was Leo's wife coming. Leo quickly motioned for me to go out from the other side of the cruise ship cabin. He would deal with his wife himself. I quickly went out and sighed repeatedly. This old teacher married a shrew. Due to the poor network, I didn't know who to play with for a while. Then was addicted to something. I had a falling out with Cindy. William has become a thorn in my heart. Finally, I chose to go to the gym. A siren must maintain her figure. Just after running a few steps on the treadmill, A man came over and struck up a conversation with me. Your figure is already so good. Are you still training? He stood by the treadmill and smiled at me. His appearance and clothing were not the types I liked. Even, they were somewhat cheap. It didn't seem like the clothing that people on this cruise ship should wear. But thinking that this man might be a certain wealthy person deliberately pretending to be cool just to find a good girl who doesn't care about his money, I showed the perfect smile of a siren and talked with him. After chatting for a long time, he asked if he could have dinner with me. I agreed. During the meal, he was extremely considerate and complimented me. I couldn't help but feel smug. At the end of the meal, he said something that I never expected. He said, "Miss Una, do you have any plans to buy a house in City A? City A is the city where the cruise ship departed." Then, he handed me a business card with the 5 big characters, "Real Estate Agent," clearly printed on it. I was so shocked that I almost bit my tongue. This was actually a real estate agent. Spending 40,000 yuan on a cruise ticket to vacation just to promote houses on the cruise ship? I asked out the doubts in my heart. He smiled. How could I have 40,000 yuan to spend on vacation? This cruise ticket was rewarded to me by our boss. Our boss said that I was extremely lucky. I was rated as an outstanding real estate agent by someone. "Miss Una, where are you going?" 13. I left without looking back. What a pauper. How dare he approach me? I returned to William's room and wanted to calm down. Compared with others, William is still the most perfect. At this time, he should be pushing his uncle's wheelchair to have dinner. I was applying lipstick in front of the mirror, thinking of waiting for him to come back later, and subtly asking him about the shopping carts and borrowing. If he could give a reasonable explanation. Then, ding, 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 ding. The sound of a mobile phone vibrating came from the room. William had forgotten to take his phone. I opened it without hesitation. I had already memorized his lock screen password during my close contact with William. 5 messages came into view. Have you dealt with that woman? When will you let her invest? I've checked. She has a deposit of more than 5 million. It must be done before getting off the cruise ship. Is your rich backer old man still alive? With trembling hands, I marked the messages as unread and turned around and walked out of the door. Sure enough, what Cindy said was right. This handsome guy, William, is not only a fake rich man but also a pig butchering scam. After walking a short distance outside, I grabbed my bag on my shoulder feebly and slumped to the ground. After a long time, I staggered to my feet and walked while supporting myself on the wall. Fortunately, I discovered it early and didn't lose a penny. I also enjoyed William's body. Anyway, it was not a total loss. But I misjudged him and almost got deceived by the pig butchering scam. It was really embarrassing. I walked limping lie and absent-mindedly, which attracted the attention of a middle-aged man. The man was gentle and refined, and he looked like an intellectual at first sight. He helped me to sit in a place on the cruise ship where we could enjoy the scenery. He said to me, "Girl, what's wrong with you? If you have something to say, you can tell me." I looked up at him, and he smiled kindly. "I'm a psychologist." He handed me his business card, and I grabbed it absently, trembling all over. Something was wrong. There was really something wrong. Cindy, William, Leo and his wife, the real estate agent, and the psychologist in front of me. I always felt that these people had a strange common point. Were they all swindlers? No, they weren't. Then what was it? In a flash, I thought of it. The cruise ship tickets were so expensive, but there was not a single real rich person on the ship. I grabbed the psychologist's sleeve and, regardless of politeness, shouted, "How did you get your cruise ship ticket?" In the distance, the night performance on the cruise ship began. The cruise journey was coming to an end, and the grandest performance would be held in the hall today. In the sound of the orchestra and percussion, my face was extremely distorted. 14. He was baffled by my question but tried his best to soothe my emotions. Sure enough, he was a psychologist. I shouted. Tell me quickly. How did you get your cruise ship ticket? His lips trembled twice. My cruise ship ticket. A partner came to our psychological clinic to hold an event. They said there was a luxury cruise ship quota. And after they stated the conditions, only I met them. I was dull and numb and staggered back. How could this be? I rushed to a woman who was reading a book regardless of everything and shouted at her. How did you get your cruise ship ticket? The woman was elegant, wearing black framed glasses, and speaking softly. She was also frightened by my madness and answered trembling lie. Our editorial department received a winning quota. I couldn't listen anymore. Something was really wrong. On this luxury ship, not only was there no real rich person, but also none of the tickets were bought by the passengers themselves. If it was an event organized by the cruise ship official, it was not impossible. But if so, the official event would surely be widely publicized. Instead of having one-on-one activities like this, especially Cindy, her cruise ship ticket was obtained by scanning the code on the express delivery, which was even more strange. Without saying a word, I rushed to Cindy's door blindly and pounded on it loudly. Cindy was on a diet and didn't have dinner, so she must be in at this time. I knocked on the door for a long time before she came out. But not from the door I knocked on. She came out from William's door. When she saw me, she said unpleasantly, "What are you still doing here? Didn't you leave in a huff?" While tidying up her messy hair, she warned me, "The handsome guy is not yours alone." I also. Before she could finish, I trembled all over and begged her to open the door. I had an important discovery to tell her. Cindy was meticulous, much more reliable than Ben, that brainless muscle man. In this situation, I could only find her to analyze. I told her all my discoveries today at once. William's pig butchering scam, Leo and his wife, the real estate agent, the psychologist, the female editor. Also, me and Ben. All of our tickets were given as gifts. Cindy was visibly flustered as well. While soothing me, she said, "If so, you say, what is the purpose of deceiving us onto the cruise ship? If it's a good thing, then we don't need to be afraid. If it's a bad thing, then we have to think carefully. Who have we offended?" 15 These words woke me up, and I sat up straight with a start. My boyfriend," I said in a low voice while looking at Cindy's serious expression. "I mean, the one who gave me the ship ticket. His name is Jason, the one I said no to." "What did you say his name was?" Cindy's nails pinched into my flesh. "Jason," I repeated. Cindy's face quickly turned ashen. "You don't mean Jason from Jinjin Company, do you?" "How did you know?" I said anxiously. "Because he is my first love." Cindy's body slid down along the headboard. "At that time, we started a business together. Secretly. I was with another partner. Later, however, I also broke up with him very unpleasantly. Because after we left, Jason made a lot of money. He blamed me for taking him away. A few days ago on the ship, I saw him. We didn't say a word to each other. It seemed as if there was a huge soundproof net around us, isolating the sound of water and noise from the outside. I licked my already chapped lips. Do you think what is he going to do? Could it be that he wants to kill us on the high seas? Then I thought in a positive way. Or is William his man and just wants to cheat us of our money? I remembered what Ben said about making money. Then I thought of the real estate agent and the psychologist chatting me up. The more I thought about it, the more I felt that it was more likely to be a money scam. Could it be that all the others here were actors hired by Jason? The purpose is to design and cheat the property of Cindy and me. As soon as I said this possibility, and said that we just need to be careful and preventive, Cindy shook her head violently. "No. You don't understand him. The reason why I left his entrepreneurial team is that he is too ruthless and insidious." Her eyes darkened and she murmured to herself, "It won't be so simple." She stood up by holding the bed. We must ask and see what relationship other people have with Jason. Going out with a heavy heart. I saw Leo standing alone with his back to us, blowing the night wind at a glance. His hair and clothes were messy. Presumably, he was beaten by that shrewish wife. I called him, "Teacher Leo." He turned around and gave me an embarrassed smile. "Miss Una, is it about compensating for the loss?" It's not about compensating for the loss. I quickly interrupted him. "I just want to ask you, do you know this person named Jason?" Leo was stunned all of a sudden. He fell into a distant memory. As distant as it could be. Hearing this name, he seemed to have aged 10 years all of a sudden. Huchnagover. After a long time, he said 2 words. "I know." 16. It turned out that Jason was a student he taught in junior high school. He transferred here and was very famous in his previous school. Why was he famous? Because he was tragic enough. He was abandoned by his parents and was raised by his wealthy uncle. Later, it was revealed that he had been molested by his uncle all the time. Naturally, his uncle was convicted. But Jason couldn't stay in his original school anymore. He transferred to this school to get rid of everything in the past. After all, in the news, the information of the victim is under a pseudonym. At first, he made friends in the new school and gradually became lively and cheerful. But somehow, someone leaked the news. Soon, his story became known to everyone in the new school. Junior high school students at that age are very simple and also very naughty. They laughed at and bullied him because of this. He became more and more taciturn. As his homeroom teacher, Leo tried his best to discipline those children. But it was useless. Jason's grades still plummeted. After graduating from junior high school, he went out to work and start a business. These words, like sharp knife points, pierced into my heart and stirred it into a bloody mess. I was stunned on the spot and forgot the purpose of coming to ask him. Cindy reacted faster than me. She eagerly grabbed Leo's arm. "Teacher Leo, tell the truth. Is there anything else?" Leo stared blankly at the seawater in the darkness in the distance and shook his head in silence. "What about your wife? What's her relationship with Jason?" Cindy persisted. Leo shuddered all over and seemed unable to straighten up, trembling. "Lie. Why do you ask this? This cruise ticket is not right. Don't you think it came too easily? We suspect that everyone on this cruise ship is someone Jason hates." After hearing this sentence, Leo covered his heart and fell straight backward. Cindy and I were in a flurry to help him. Only a weak voice was heard. That news was spread by my wife. It was like a thunderbolt from the blue, turning Cindy and me into ashes. We had no time to take care of Leo. We turned around and wanted to leave. Old gentleman, what's wrong with you?" The real estate agent, who chatted me up before, came over and supported Leo. He looked at Cindy and me suspiciously. He frowned and asked in confusion, "Shouldn't we take the old gentleman to the infirmary? Why did you turn around and leave?" With bloodshot eyes, I asked him word by word, "Do you know Jason?" 17. His hand supporting Leo stopped in my dress. Looking dazed and staggering. "He is a client of mine." I interrupted him. "Did you ever do something wrong to him?" Seeing his hesitation, I yelled, "Quick! Tell the truth. This is a matter of life and death for all of us on the cruise ship." 3 pairs of eyes, mine, Cindy's, and Leo's, stared at him intently. He stammered out, "Many years ago, I once sold him a haunted house. He came to me for compensation." I pointed out the small print of the contract to him, and told him that I had informed him. Hearing the commotion here, the elegant female editor came over with a cup of coffee. "What a fine day. Everyone is watching the performance. You don't watch the performance or enjoy the sea breeze. Are you arguing here?" I took a big step forward and snatched her coffee. "Do you know a person named Jason?" She was stunned for a long while, recognizing that I was the rude woman who asked her how to buy a cruise ticket just now. She glared at me. "Don't know." Baffling. She turned and walked towards the hall. "But I thought of it. When I was with Jason at the beginning, For a period of time, he suddenly had the interest in writing novels. He wrote day and night. After finishing writing, he submitted his work. In the end, all the things he wrote were returned. He lay in bed for a whole week. But is this editor his enemy? If even such a person is cheated onto the ship, then what on earth is he going to do? I said what I just thought. Cindy sat down on the ground. Sure enough. The real estate agent didn't know why. He looked at us and then went to help Leo. As he supported him, he suddenly let out a terrible scream. It turned out that Leo had already lost his breath. Cindy and I supported each other. I stammered and couldn't say a complete sentence. Just now, she just said, everyone is watching the performance. Performers, waiters, crew members, are all foreigners. Do they? No. Before I could finish speaking, there was a noisy and crowded pushing and crying sound coming from the cruise ship lobby. Just then, someone shouted heart-rending lie. There's a fire. No one knows how the fire started. It just started burning vigorously. The firelight, together with billowing thick smoke, shot straight into the sky, accompanied by the sound of oil tank rupture. The sea surface was also ablaze. I saw several lifeboats floating away in the distance on the sea. Those sitting on the lifeboats were clearly the waiters and crew members of these days. They are probably foreigners hired by Jason. After completing their tasks, they leave triumphantly. The worst are the people watching the performance in the lobby and those staying in their rooms. They push each other. One person steps on another, blocking the cabin entrance tightly. Some people jump into the sea in a panic, only to find that the oil tank bursts and falls into the sea. The temperature of the seawater is enough to boil. Those who jump into the sea are scalded black all over. This place has already turned into a living hell. Cindy and I are like the headless flies, with nowhere to hide. Our only advantage is that we are not blocked in the cabin, but on the deck. It won't last long either. The mournful roars of others are also like our death knell. There is a fishy sweetness in my throat. The surrounding sounds are floating, like a big dream. I grabbed the bag on my shoulder and threw it out forcefully. At this time, what's the use of a bag? The notebook hit the deck. I thought of something and picked it up in a hurry. Owl rolled over the notebook and almost crushed my hand. I took a closer look. It was William pushing a wheelchair. The old man on the wheelchair was anxiously directing. Seeing us, William's face lit up. Quick! Come and help. My uncle knows where we can hide. There is a safe room on this cruise ship. A safe room that will pop up when a certain mechanism is pressed and is enough to isolate the sea of fire. There are communication devices in the safe room, so that we can contact for rescue. We worked together to pull down a certain gate on the deck. The safe room on this luxury giant ship also popped up, seizing the opportunity. At this time, on the deck, those who are unharmed, except for us, are only the real estate agent and the psychologist. The safe room is very large and can accommodate many people. As soon as we entered, the safe room was lifted by a mechanical arm and rose slowly. We were still in shock. But the old man in the wheelchair narrowed his eyes and looked around every corner of the safe room. He murmured, "Why is it different?" My heart sank. Could it be that this safe room has also been altered? 19 William quickly discovered the communication device in the safe room and contacted for rescue. Rescue will arrive in 3 hours. I breathed a sigh of relief, feeling both fortunate and thinking that things are not so simple. Because Cindy is really too anxious. She repeated over and over again. He won't let us live. Yes. He has set up such a big trap and has already killed so many people. Could it be that he is giving those who escaped here a way to survive? I asked everyone to be quiet and repeated everything I knew. After listening to what I said, the psychologist slowly slid to the ground. It turns out that after Jason was molested, he was assigned as his psychologist. At that time, Jason's uncle was arrested. In order to reduce the penalty, people were sent to secretly give him money. Let him induce Jason to say that everything was voluntary on his part. In the course of repeated treatments, the psychologist induced him to say words favorable to his uncle. In the end, Jason's uncle was only sentenced to 2 years. I turned to look at William and asked him to explain everything. Only by understanding the cause and effect can we possibly save ourselves. William blushed. He said he owed a lot of money. On the first day on the cruise ship, when he saw that my skirt was very expensive, he wanted to cheat me out of my money. That old designer is not his uncle, but his financial backer. A year ago, when the old designer was traveling with his wealthy friend, he was in a car accident. The wealthy friend was killed and the old designer was disabled. Because William has some unspeakable relationship with both of them. So this year, the old man took 2 tickets and only brought him along. He doesn't know anything else. I turned to look at the old designer. It seems that William's connection with Jason is related to him. He remained silent and rolled his wheelchair around to inspect everywhere in the safe room by himself. He was panicked and collapsed, anxiously looking for something. He kept repeating, "This is wrong. This is also wrong." Seeing that he wouldn't speak, I opened the notebook. After I boarded the cruise ship, Jason asked me many times if I had taken notes. There must be something strange. I looked through the notebook over and over again. Inside were pages of blankness. The psychologist took it and fiddled with it. A letter fell out from the interleaver. 20, Una. Seeing words is like seeing you. I don't know where you will open this letter, but I hope it's before you board the cruise ship. Because if that's the case, you don't have to die. This is a journey of death. This cruise ship is a death cruise ship carefully planned by me for more than 20 years. More than 20 years ago, I was molested by my wealthy uncle. Since then, everyone I meet has been hurting me. There is the designer who is a friend of my uncle and designs entertainment places for him. There is the hypocritical head teacher and his gossipy wife. There are classmates who bullied me. There are neighbors who bullied me. There is the psychologist who helped my uncle. There is my first love girlfriend, who abandoned me. There is my former partner who betrayed me. There is the real estate agent, who sold me a haunted house. There is the editor who dealt a fatal blow to my spiritual world. There is the passerby who hit me on the road but instead blackmailed me for money. There are really too many. In every day of these 20 years, the number of these people has been constantly increasing, until I succeeded in starting a business and had the ability to take revenge. In the name of my company, I bought this giant ship and renovated it. Then I gathered these people one by one and turned it into a death ship. However, my plan was postponed for 3 years. Because I met you. You are actually a very lovely girl. I want to spend my life with you. But you also know that I can't. Things in childhood have left a shadow on me. So I am always nervous. Especially when facing you. I don't blame you for having another man at the same time. I just want to know if you love me at all. Just a little bit is fine. If you still regard this notebook, such a cheap gift, as a treasure after receiving it. As long as you are willing to spend a few minutes researching, you can find the letter in the interleaver. At that time, you won't board the cruise ship and you will call the police. My revenge will no longer be carried out. But if you have already boarded the cruise ship, it doesn't matter. In the first 20 days or so, you still have a chance to survive. The cruise ship will stop at 8 ports in succession. No matter when you read this letter before docking at any port, you can survive. You have 8 chances. Don't tell me that by the time you read this, you have missed 8 chances. The cruise ship has reached the high seas. 21 I felt dizzy and my face turned extremely pale. I continued to read. If the cruise ship has reached the high seas, everything has entered a countdown. All the crew members and waiters are hired by me at a high price on the dark web. They will take action at the most appropriate time. After a grand performance, block the exit of the suite and set fire. If you see herein the performance is not over yet, you go to them and explain the situation to them. You can leave from the back door when the performance ends with them. Leave by a lifeboat. This is my ninth chance for you. Oh, don't tell me that you missed the ninth chance. Once missed. I'm not sure if you still have hope. If you haven't died in the stampede and fire at the performance site, I'll teach you. You should closely follow an old man in a wheelchair. He is the designer of this giant ship. He never goes to watch performances. At that time, he will be on the deck. This giant ship was designed by him for my uncle. Many shameful things have happened inside. They designed a safe room, which is made of transparent heat-insulating glass. The safe room is hidden somewhere on the giant ship and will pop up with the mechanism. It can be as low as on the deck and as high as stretching above the giant ship. Back then, they used this place as a place to watch the tragic fate of those playthings. When a fire occurs, this is also the only way to survive. There are communication devices in the safe room that can let you contact the outside world. But the rescue will not come too quickly. It will take at least a few hours. But my poisonous gas can't wait that long. Yes. I renovated the safe room. I turned this place into a laboratory. Now, the safe room is divided into two parts, inside and outside. What you are in now is the outer room. After passing through a certain mechanism, you can enter the inner room. This mechanism requires one of the designer's hands. Only when he puts his hand into a certain place and fits it can it be opened. His friend died in a car accident. Before he died, his two hands were crushed. Two hands that have molested others. He only needs one hand here. It's not excessive, right? In the inner room, there is a real safe room. When the poisonous gas is released, you can only hold on for a few minutes. Only by entering the real safe room can you survive. Don't be afraid. The real safe room is very large. It can accommodate dozens of people. The prerequisite is that you can get in. It uses a combination lock. The password is very simple. That is my birthday. This is the 10th chance I give you. 20 to the fingertips holding the letter turned bluish-white. I read out the latter part of the letter loudly. Just listening to a click, accompanied by the screams of the old man in the wheelchair. Obviously, he found the mechanism. And he also knows that only in this way can he survive. The safe room shook violently up and down. The partition slowly opened. The second door suddenly appeared in front of everyone. The four corners of the safe room began to emit a hissing sound. Poisonous gas was gradually released. First, the eyes felt a stinging pain. Everyone was in tears. Then there was a violent cough and difficulty in breathing. The other four men pushed Cindy and me in front of the combination lock. Only the two of us, me and Cindy, could possibly know Jason's birthday. I burst into silent, hoarse sobs and looked up to recall. Yes, I remember his birthday. But after reading that letter, my mind went blank. In the few seconds while I was thinking, Cindy pushed me aside and entered the password on her own. I watched the numbers she entered. They were the same as what I remembered. She actually remembered it too. The lips, hands and feet of everyone began to turn purple, and blisters covered their faces and arms. Everyone's breathing became more and more difficult. But the door didn't open. In the extreme pain of impending death, I tremblingly entered it again. It was indeed his birthday. But the door still didn't open. I prostrated myself on the ground and grabbed that letter again. I looked at it over and over again. Finally, in the most inconspicuous corner, I found these lines. I think. Let's set the password as my lunar birthday. I wonder if anyone remembers. Una. I mentioned it to you. My last glimmer of hope was completely crushed by these 3 sentences. I am the queen of the sea. I am buried at the bottom of the sea.